Lonely, unhappy, single mothers, divorced, going through meaningless dates one after another in the hopes of finding some man who would match the unrealistic, perfect ideal of an image of a man they've created in their mind, only to find out after the years go by that such a man does not exist. You see them everywhere, and everywhere, I should say, in the West. And what's actually helped women in terms of economic opportunities in the West, job opportunities, and so-called equal rights, equal pay, and feminism, has also hurt them. Actually, it's hurt them a lot more than it's helped them. Because you see, in the West, you have this phenomenon of feminism and Western and opportunities, work opportunities that women have to get in the workforce, which hate me for saying this, but goes against the nature of a woman, because the DNA is in the DNA of a woman to be nurturing and to be the mother who looks after the children and takes care of the home. And again, hate me for saying this, but being in the workforce and dealing with all the stress of work and all the things that usually men had to deal with, it is not natural for a woman. This is why great majority of women in marriages don't have the willingness to have sex with their husband, because they're dealing with so many other artificial stresses that they've brought upon themselves by being in the outside world and dealing with the everyday stress and everyday pressures and deadlines and all the other things that come with being in the workforce. And having sex with their husband becomes a chore. I mean, it is statistics. You cannot argue with facts that as you marry, as you move in together, as you get into the real hardcore life, the sex is the first thing that goes out the window. And it's like the man has to beg to have sex with his wife, and for a woman it becomes a favor. It becomes a bonus and a favor to give his husband sex. Whereas under normal circumstances, if she was doing what was in her DNA, if she was not fighting nature, if she was a housewife, taking care of the home, taking care of the female roles, traditional female roles that have been there from the cave days, then she would be willing to have sex with her husband every night, or she would have normal sex drive like any woman would. Whereas for the women in the West who are involved in the workforce and all the stresses of the job and being out there and working and dealing with people and all the stress that work brings, that kills the sex drive, and she just is not interested. In South America and in many still European countries and Eastern European countries and Asian countries, the men are they have a secondary pressure release valves for sex, if you will. They all go to these casas and take care of their business and then come home to their wives. And in many of these, I'd say in great number of cases, the wives in Latin America, they know what's going on. They know what the husband is doing, and they're kind of tacitly approving it, and they're kind of glad, because they know deep down inside that they don't want to have sex with them every night, and they know that a man needs it, and they're glad that there's another outlet for them to go and take care of that, so that burden is not on them to provide. And they're happy to be the wife, sort of like the basketball wives. I don't know what they call them here in the States. There's a name for women that marry these wealthy basketball players. They're kind of okay without saying it. They're kind of okay on written rule that he goes and messes around with other women, as long as they're the wife, and they quickly pop out a few kids so that they can ensure their future. So even if with the divorce laws of the West behind them, even if they divorce, they're kind of set for life. Look at Tiger Woods' wife. Oh, poor thing. Oh my God, I feel so sorry for her. a caddy that's now worth $45 million. I don't know how much she got in that divorce, but far more than she deserves. But I'd say Tiger Woods deserves to pay that and more for being stupid, for limiting himself to one woman, and for marrying somebody knowing the laws, divorce laws of the West. So he deserves it. He deserves it. That's the price of stupidity. Going back to the main subject, these women, how many times do you hear that men complaining that their women don't want to have sex with them, and women dealing with treating sex with their husband as a chore, as a favor, as something that they have to reluctantly agree to and provide just to keep him happy, throw him a bone, and maybe once a week or once every 2 weeks or twice a month, throw him a bone just so that he would shut up, because that's not something they're interested in. And after a while, the men just give up. You can't beg for something like that. It has to be natural. So they divorce in the West. They divorce because they know the divorce laws. They divorce, and these women end up, they got kids. So not too many men wanna date and marry a woman that has already a set of kids from other man or other men. So they end up most of the time going through a series of dates. Sure, they can still, if they look good, they can still get men to date them for a while, one night or maybe extended one night stands, 2 months, 6 months, whatever. But usually they don't want to marry them. And if they do marry, we all know, again, by statistics, that second marriage divorce rates are upwards of 70-75% and higher. Because both have been through it before, and they look at it as the first option, first solution when problems arise. So what you got? You have these plethora of women, that single, divorced, unhappy mothers that are out there lonely and miserable. They messed up a good marriage, and now they're paying the price. And in the process, they destroyed a man's life and livelihood, and often the man's right to see his kids every day. And it's miserable. They ruin a perfectly good thing, running after their own elusive dream of a perfect happy life, and they end up in these lonely, miserable, most of the time alcohol abusing lives, where they're go out with their girlfriends in the same situation, and misery loves company, and share their compare notes. This is so common now in the West, and you see them all over these dating sites. They're still hoping. The dating has become so meaningless. This is why many people have realized that actually the ones who had the honor and pleasure of having been around the world, they know that they've given up. They know that dating American women, dating women in America, Canada, some countries in the Western Europe, is hell. They ask themselves, why do I have to put up with that? Why do I have to put up with a woman that has a list of demands longer than my arm, where I can go to South America, to Asia, and have women that are 20 years younger with 1,000 times less demands, and take care of my needs, and be happy, have my needs fulfilled and be happy? How many years do you think we're going to live? This is a short life here, ladies and gentlemen. And when you knowledge is power. If you have access, if you expose yourself to what's available out there for what resources, you'd be a fool to even waste 1 minute with these impossible women in the West who are looking at you as nothing more than a meal ticket. And you ask yourself, why do I have to put up with this when I can go elsewhere and get my needs met for far less money, far less hassle, far less demands, and have my pick of the litter? Knowledge is power. I say, don't put up with these women. Don't put yourself through this madness and through this gauntlet of miserable, high demand, delusional women in the West, in America especially, the worst, because this economy and this divorce laws and the society and the feminism, and it's 10 times worse now than it was even 10 years ago. It has destroyed women by placing these unrealistic expectations in their head, and they actually believe that they deserve and they can have everything, where in reality none of them does. None of them does. I don't care what socioeconomic status you're talking about. So the price is paid by them and by the men who are trying to to deal with them and to fit that list of expectations, to come up with a list of expectations that these unrealistic, delusional women have. Open your mind, see what's available out there. The world is not limited to the city and country that you're living in. And realize that you don't have to put up with this, gentlemen. You don't have to put up with this. You don't have to go to McDonald's every day. There are other restaurants. There are other places in other cities across the border that will offer you far better food for far less price with a far wider selection. All the best.